All right, guys. Well, thank you for. I think we're either the second to last panel today. So my name is Lauren Steiner, head of strategic accounts at Adomni, and I am with Mike from GoPuff. And please tell us a little bit about yourself and GoPuff.
Will do. So who knows GoPuff? Just here. Oh, wow. You guys are making my job easy here. Yeah, I have partnerships at GoPuff. Been there for about 3 years now, and kind of use that broad term of partnerships because the way that we think about the world is there really isn't anybody that we don't want to talk to. We can provide solutions for brands. We can provide solutions for channel partners. I will be fully transparent and say I was not overly familiar with Adomni, but coming out of just Lauren and my conversation over these past couple days or weeks that we've been chatting, there is a bridge that has already been built between our two companies, and there is an opportunity for us to do a lot more. And for those that are not intimately familiar with GoPuff, we are a last mile delivery company. We are instant commerce. A lot of people think about this rise of instant commerce. It came out during the pandemic, but we've been in business now for 11 years. Two college students at Drexel University realized that the convenience store was not convenient. And a lot of people ask us about our name. And it's because we were started by two guys that were 20 years old at Drexel, realizing that, hey, when they were hanging out with their buddies on a Friday night and they needed more supplies of whatever they were up to, they could not easily find that. And so they said, let's build a solution for it. And when you think about the companies that were being built 11, 12, 13 years ago, they were all very asset light, as I like to call them. Think about the Airbnbs, the Ubers, the Instacarts of the world. Marketplaces connecting existing companies with consumers. All great companies, I love them, I use them all myself. GoPuff took a very different approach. We said, what if we became vertically integrated? What if we were the retailer? What if we were the consumer-facing app? What if the delivery drivers worked for us? What advantages would that give us? It meant that we had to be very capital intensive. I own 2 distribution centers in the US, one in Richmond, California, one in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I have 400 micro-fulfillment centers that are powering these last-mile delivery points. But what we want to do is we want to enable instant commerce and quick delivery, not just for ourselves with our 1P, but frankly, anybody that needs it. And that's why when I say partnerships, it means that we can have a wide variety of conversations. So whether you are PepsiCo or whether you are a social influencer who wants to launch their own D2C brand, we can help enable instant fulfillment of that and kind of lift a burden for them.
And we were talking a lot about this earlier, but you mentioned it already a couple times. So one, I found it so interesting about your fulfillment centers. So they're not just a small warehouse space. They're 4 football fields.
Those are the distribution centers.
Okay.
Yeah, the micro fulfillment centers are a little bit smaller. But no, we do have. Look, we have no matter what somebody might need in an instant.
Yeah.
I was telling you, I have 2 kids at home. One, I have a 1-year-old. She's teething. 2 o'clock in the morning, she's crying. I go to get the Tylenol. We're out of infant's Tylenol. She's crying. I don't want her to wake up my 4-year-old. I'm trying to figure out what to do. Don't want to wake up my wife, who normally has to deal with the crying kids, but I was like, I got this one, babe. I was like, don't worry. We're out of it. I GoPuffed it 11 minutes from when I ordered it to when I showed up at my house in Brooklyn at 2 in the morning. So when we talk about what we have, it's something for everybody. I have car jumper cables at all my micro-fulfillment centers. Just one. But you never know what somebody might need, whether it is an umbrella, jumper cables, infant's Tylenol, more beer, Beyonce's latest whiskey, which we have on the platform, and we can talk about why we brought that on and why social influencers are leaning into our platform. But yeah, a little bit of everything.
I love it. So today we are going to dive into a little bit more of like the importance of consumer touch points everywhere. So I know that we are at grocery shop today and thinking about, the screens, in retail media, but it really is all about touch points everywhere, including the real world. And we have, I think that was one of the cool parts about meeting and talking about GoPuff, understanding what they did, and of course understanding what Adomni is doing, and that is the same type of thing. And we're a real world ads platform, so making sure that we're taking the brands that what he's doing, that he's working with, and moving them around and touch points and making those screens shoppable. So digital screens shoppable. CTV shoppable, because obviously your phone is already shoppable. So every screen should be shoppable at this point. And so really wanting to understand, what does that look like for you?
It's funny, prior to our conversations, I used to use this phrase, let's make the internet shoppable. That's what GoPuff was trying to do. But I realized after conversations, it shouldn't just be the internet.
Yeah.
It should be everything.
Yeah, moving out. It's the consumer journey and moving throughout the day. And so you're not just on your phone. I mean, what about when you're driving in your car, or if you're in New York and you're taking public transit and you're walking? I mean, you should be able to see a screen and automatically be able to shop from it.
And it's what the consumers want. I mean, I blame everything on what happened almost 20 years ago now. In 2005, two things happened. YouTube was born, and Amazon launched two-day Prime delivery. And ever since those two things, the consumer demand has just been faster, easier, at my fingertips. And we've seen that with content. We've seen it with consumerism, with when we have to purchase things. And so this whole idea of why shouldn't we be able to go from impression to consumption within minutes, that's a phrase we use a ton at GoPuff. That if somebody engages with a brand impression, they should be able to consume or have in their hands that product in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And so maybe I am walking down the street and it's about to be allergy season and I sneeze, and we always say right ad, right place, right time. That's always been used in digital, but why not with out of home and other platforms? Because I might sneeze, I look up, there's a Zyrtec ad, wait a minute, I can scan this QR code and get that product delivered to my office, to my home, wherever, in 30 minutes or less. It's so interesting because time, it's the only thing that no matter how rich you are, you cannot get more of. And so if we are able to give people back more time to spend the enjoyment with their kids, their friends, their family, whatever it might be, that's ultimately what we're trying to do. I always try and put that hat on my head of how am I making the world a better place?
Thank you.
And if it's by giving back more time for people to spend doing the things they enjoy and not having that burden of having to go shopping.
Yeah, I like the time
I sleep easier at night.
I like that. I mean, and you're talking about the time and how fast a consumer, it's like the path to purchase, right? I mean, if you think about it, my colleague Joe is sitting in the room, and he used to be a publisher of a magazine. And back in the day, but a long time ago. But back in the day, it was, how are you going to get that consumer to purchase something? And it was 3 months. It was buying an ad in a magazine, for at least 3 months. Now it could be 3 minutes. You could be walking, you could see something on your phone, something on on your screen, and then get retargeted. And you're like, I need that right now. And it's in minutes, not months. And so I think that's where we've really been evolving. And of course, GoPuff, I think that's awesome.
We're only going to be doing more with Impulse. I think it's funny. There was, I think it's Accenture put out a study that said right now within the digital ecosystem, only 19% of people make impulse food and beverage purchases because it's not easy to do. Nobody's really been able to recreate that checkout experience within the digital ecosystem to make it so easy to be like, oh wait, I do want that. Every retailer has been trying to figure that out right now. It's something that we spend a lot of time thinking about of how do we just drive more impulse. But you never know when that consumer might be ready to take action. As you said, maybe it is the third or fourth impression. Maybe for some people it's the first impression. So why not make them be able to action on that impulse at any impression?
Yep. And let's talk about social media. The space.
I know it.
Yes, and it is ever evolving. Another big thing that we've been doing at Adomni is creators in the real world. So taking that social media content and putting it into the real world. Talk to us about where you see it going.
We want to be wherever people are spending time. I mean, think about the evolution of digital. Remember portals? You would log in, and that's where you would spend so much of the bulk of your time. The reality is now social platforms is where we're all spending the bulk of our time. So we formed a few different partnerships. We have a partnership with Meta, with our catalog. So brands could go into their Meta ads platform, say, okay, I want to, Miller Coors does this. They lean in around football time. They say, and I know because I am their target audience. I'm seeing all their ads, but we have a real-time product feed. it tells me the price, whether or not that product is in stock, and whether or not it is cold when it will be delivered. And so they are able to run very granular down to single audiences based upon zip codes and geos, let them know that product can be delivered to them cold beer in 20 minutes or less. Pretty awesome from a consumer perspective, because we've all had those moments where friends are over, it's a barbecue, it's a party, nobody wants to leave, the vibes are good. Why not enable that instant consumption from these social platforms? We're also seeing now, look, influencers, they're called influencers for a reason. They carry influence. And so we have two very distinct relationships with influencers. One is with the largest influencers in the world, all of which are trying to launch their own brands. So whether it is Beyonce with her new whiskey, whether it is Mr. Beast with his Feastables, Jake Paul with his Prime, they're all turning to GoPuff for two reasons. One, we have their audience that cares about them. 80% of my shoppers are 18 to 34. And so when you think about Gen Z, who's spending time, who is actually being influenced by said influencers, it's our shoppers. We also provide them speed to market. We do not have kind of the legacy red tape of the huge omnichannel retailers. So we can provide them speed to market, agile marketing frameworks, and testing opportunities that they really lean into. Then we have the other side of influencers, which are more of those smaller micro-influencers. And we're seeing a ton of success with them too, because if you think about their following, may not be as big, but the response rate there is so much higher. And partnering with them from a GoPuff brand perspective to say, look, if we're going to be leaning more into fresh grocery, which is something we're doing, how do we tap these micro-influencers to really drive that consumption? Now, what gets me excited about our conversation is a lot of what we are doing today is stopping on the social platforms. And to me, if you're paying to create content, and I come from a digital video background, and it always frustrated me looking at the amount of budget that went into content creation and then what got put into distribution. It was never apples to apples, and it never made sense.
And now it's just shot on an iPhone.
Yeah, so now they're just collecting checks, which is pretty nice.
I know, I messed up somewhere in life.
You all should have been influencers. If you take anything out of this, you can go back in time.
Exactly, right?
But that idea of transporting this content that might have historically lived just within the social platforms to other screens is something we're very bullish on at GoPuff, and taking that content elsewhere. I mean, it sounds like that's a lot of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what we're doing. I mean, and we all know that the brands are doing better because of creators or influencers. And so, I think that the one thing that we are a little different on is screens are typically sound off. So does this make sense for, when the production is shot or when they're creating, making sure that influencers now are creating for all screens and not just for on platform. But also making sure, if it doesn't make sense, let's overlay text, but it's still driving the brand. And we're seeing such success with it. And I think the other part that we were talking about, not even today, but the other day, was the unified measurement of it. And one of the sessions before with family, with a Dollar Tree, it was like measurement. Of course, it is. It is about measurement, but it's also about unified measurement and making sure that we're tying everything together so that we can see, on your brand side, is it driving direct to that site or is it driving direct to GoPuff? And, brand lift studies and things like that. So just making sure that everything is tied together from the social, going direct to, we have the CTV component now, going direct to CTV, and just making sure that we're driving that business from every single digital platform that you can imagine.
Yeah, we believe data empowers data out, is what we say a lot internally. And we pride ourselves from a retailer perspective of probably being the most open when it comes to data of any other retailer. I think the new walled gardens, it used to be Meta and Google, I think they're Amazon and Walmart. And rightfully so, they have the power to make those decisions, and they can do that.
Yeah.
But where we sit at GoPuff, we truly believe that, let's make our data open. Let's allow brands to actually see what is driving the needle. Because the more data we provide our brand partners, we think the more data and the more investment they will then make back into the brand, and it just gets stronger. You create that flywheel of data that is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I mean, and you have that data, and then thinking about GoPuff, I definitely, we were talking about, competitors and things like that, but in the space, if you can get something in 12 minutes at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't think you have a competitor. So maybe your husband that drives, or your wife that will drive to the store, but let me tell you, I will pay triple if I could get it in 12 minutes to my door. So no, that's definitely really cool. And then I don't know if you want to share, I think that something else that was really, really interesting was your peak hours. And I felt like that's very different than anybody else.
So the vertical integration that I mentioned in the beginning, it gives us a few distinct advantages when it comes to this last mile delivery space. Because come 4 p.m., if you need more Oreos, maybe you're just craving Oreos, you really want to try those new Coke Oreos, which I have not tried yet, but has anybody tried those? They did a collaboration, like Coca-Cola and Oreo came together. I'm intrigued, so I'll let you guys know. 4 p.m., anybody can get those. But once traditional retail starts closing down, that's when Instacart, Uber Eats, DoorDash, companies like that don't necessarily have a mechanism to deliver. So we see 364 out of 365 days a year, our peak sales happen between 8 and 10 p.m. There's one day of the year when that doesn't hold true. Who wants a prize? Not that I have a prize, but I'll figure out something.
Thanksgiving.
No, not Christmas, not Thanksgiving.
I thought the same thing. You just said it, someone. You got it.
You get a prize. Can we get her a pen?
Yeah, can we get her
Give her
a
one of those good pens. Yeah, give her one of those good pens.
I'll buy you a drink.
Yeah, Super Bowl Sunday, about 90 minutes before kickoff, people have that oh shit moment. Like, I forgot the guac or the salsa, like my buddies drank all the beer, like we need more. Let's get it delivered. So it's kind of crazy, but so much of our industry talks about incrementality. And we see that when you think about incrementality, we're not cannibalizing sales. We're actually creating net new sales opportunities for brands that previously did not exist. And that's one of the most powerful things that our platform can provide. We also see things like weather. A rainy New York City on a Friday, our sales go up 30% week over week. People basically say, this money I was going to go spend out at the bar tonight, I'm going to treat myself to a couple pints of Ben & Jerry's and lay on the couch and watch some Netflix. Not that I pray for bad weather, but just a nice steady drizzle. That's all I
It
check
would keep
for.
me in. We already talked about this. I was like, Vegas has everything's at our fingertips. And then because I live here, and then I was like, oh, no, I get everything delivered to my house.
It all goes back to this idea of time.
It does.
And that's just what we all want more of.
Did we talk about speed? I know that we wanted to talk about this, really like the speed of how fast everything is moving, but I feel like we kind of did. But one, we can touch on that, but the other thing that we were talking about earlier was Dua Lipa.
Yes.
And we didn't talk about that, and I thought that was very interesting. So a little bit more of the social component, and yeah.
I assume everybody knows Dua Lipa. Big fans, right? Okay. Won't make anybody sing their favorite song, but we do that later.
It's karaoke now, guys.
We'll just take over and do karaoke. Yeah. Sorry, whoever's next.
I'm going to dance in my boots.
So, look, it's we talk a lot about speed, as Laura mentioned, and one thing that we find super interesting is our speed to lean into the zeitgeist. We know, especially with our audience, Gen Z, it is all about the zeitgeist. So earlier this summer, when Kamala was Brat, we had our Brat collection. When it was cool to be very demure, which I still have not fully grasped that one. So
and mindful.
If anybody wants to explain that fully to me,
Yeah,
I would love to learn more about it.
I'm not that one, so it's okay. I'm more Brat.
But we leaned into that. A few years ago, Tom Hanks was on Jimmy Kimmel, and he talked about how his favorite drink was Diet Cocaine, and how he mixed Diet Coke and champagne. And within 24 hours, because of who we are as a retailer and the conversations we have on a daily basis, we had connected with the Coca-Cola team, the Diet Coke team, we had assets approved, and we launched a campaign on GoPuff promoting a bundle of Diet Coke and champagne to lean into this within 24 hours. That cannot happen with an omni-channel retailer. Now, that just lived on our own and operated. It was a miss. What I discovered through these conversations is to not extend that everywhere across the ecosystem where we could. And you mentioned Dua Lipa because yesterday she had her Tom Hanks moment where she went on social and said her favorite drink is Coke, pickle juice, and jalapenos.
That's what I said. I kind of was like, ooh, but GoPuff is going to maybe win on this situation.
So this morning, conversations on Slack, going with my merch team, my brand marketing team of, hey, should we lean into this? How do we lean into this? Do we have pickled jalapenos in the assortment? Can we create this bundle? All these things, but this speed of being able to jump into it. Last summer on TikTok, it went crazy. All the kids were putting Talenti ice cream in fruit roll-ups and claiming it was the best dessert ever.
I kind of actually like it. I can get on board with that over the pickle juice and jalapeno.
But this whole idea of you no longer, you don't have to miss these trends that are going on across social. You can, if you are in that mindset and have that agile mindset as a marketer, as a brand, we want to be that first phone call. I tell everybody, nothing gets me more excited than when I get an email that starts off like, I have this crazy idea, ... Like, those are the best. I'm sure we all agree that. Like, those are the best emails that lead to the best conversations.
It's like the hamster wheel in my hat. I mean, it's a constant. But those they are. I mean, and that's what you guys have been doing and being able to get creative. And I think with all the digital, everything digital, it's easy to take things live right away.
It is. And even extending and putting our brands first. And we talked a little bit about what we're doing with Powered By. So, like my boss and I, we always debate on our favorite analogy for things. I used to work at AOL and Tim Armstrong was the CEO there. And he once had an all hands where we were making all these ad tech acquisitions. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what's going on? He said, I want to be the arms dealer to the internet. And I remember he said that and it stuck with me so much. Because he basically was like, if you are the pipes that everything runs through, you will be that much more powerful. It doesn't matter what the destination is if you can be the pipes. And it's kind of the model that GoPuff has been taking. I use that analogy a lot. We also sometimes say that we've been laying down the rails for instant commerce for the past decade, investing billions of dollars of putting down those rails. We've been riding those rails, but we now are opening up those rails for anybody else to ride. And so while we want demand to come through our 1P GoPuff platform, I have no issues at all what we're doing for Halloween, where for the second year in a row, we're partnering with Mars Wrigley. We're launching the Halloween Rescue Squad. Some of you might have caught it on Good Morning America, or it was on the Today Show last week. They kind of announced it. So come Halloween at 3 p.m. If you're hanging out on your doorstep and you run out of candy, you can go to HalloweenRescueSquad.com, all branded by Mars Wrigley and M&M's. You can select a free bag of candy to get, and that will get delivered to your house in 20 minutes, courtesy of GoPuff. All we are is logistics and fulfillment. The consumers that go into that platform, they actually get to be collected by Mars Wrigley, so they get to start to build out their CRM. They get to start to own some of the data, which we know is so valuable. And we're doing this not just as one-offs for events like that, but helping power instant fulfillment for a ton of D2C brands. Drink Juvie is an energy drink that's crushing it with the younger generation. Shipping 24 packs of energy drinks is incredibly expensive. And they do it from their D2C because they're trying to build their brand. We now offer, when you put in your address, if you happen to be in a GoPuff delivery zone, you automatically get routed into the option to say instant fulfillment, get it in 30 minutes or less for $3.95. It's a better consumer experience. It's a better experience for the brand. It's a more profitable experience for the brand. And so it's a win-win-win for all the different parties. So we believe us being logistics, and what gets me excited is, look, we could say, if you have a big following in Las Vegas, I could spin up a shop on Shopify today that is Lauren's Snack Shack, and you could tell all your friends to order from there, give them a QR code, we could do the fulfillment, and you could get a rev share.
And that's how we do UGC as well. Now more ideas.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about it in the NIL space.
That's amazing.
Why wouldn't Ron Williams, the freshman superstar at Alabama, if he has a bunch of favorite snacks, why wouldn't he drive his audience and his fans to his own Shopify store that pulls from our micro-fulfillment center in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and create a net new passive revenue stream for him? So
even just think about the moms. Like, I have a 5 and a 3-year-old. You guys are on the snack queen.
So there's a lot of interesting things that we're doing from our Powered By initiative that's basically just allowing anybody to tap in to our fulfillment. So exciting times ahead.
So cool. And like just we were talking about even the Halloween, it's just everything. You can even create experiential that's not something with like a big crowd, or that's something that you're driving experiential to somewhere, but just because of what you're doing, making it experiential.
Yeah.
So it's very cool.
You nailed it.
Well, I don't know if we have time. We kind of just were chatting, and so I don't know if we have any time for questions.
We do.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh, we got one. I love this.
Do we have
That was
questions? Oh, hold on. Such a great chat. Thanks, guys. I'm curious, the agility that you have as a company, when you're talking about bundling. An internet moment happens, you can bang together pickle juice and Coke, or vanilla ice cream and olive oil, whatever it is, that gives you a massive edge over bigger retailers and brands.
Omnichannel retailers.
How do you then promote that? Because you can bundle that on your site, but you need to get the word out. Do you have a standing media order and a social team on tap that suddenly bang stuff out? They're waiting to do it? Like, what's your plan to then promote the quick bundling that you do?
No, it's a great question. If you look at, go check out GoPuff's Instagram, and then go compare it to like Kroger or somebody else. Like, you'll see our Instagram, like, it's a content engine. People follow us for our content. Even people that are not in our delivery zones, we find out like love our social content, because we're kind of talking about the pulse of what's going on, within this space across this generation. So when we think about moments like this, and we think about social channels, amplifying it there, we think about our CRM. We have access to that. I can do a push notification, an email, all of which we're leveraging. And then in-app media too, catching people that are coming in to the platform to do their shopping journey. Let's promote and let's highlight that. And so we're kind of looking at all those different tools. Now, there's others as well, as we were talking about, that we can definitely look to kind of leverage too. And that's where we kind of figure out, does the brand want to get behind this? Is this a moment that, sometimes like Diet Coke was super into because it was Tom Hanks. Had it been somebody else, maybe they might not have been as obliged to lean in. Talenti and General Mills, who owns Fruit Roll-Ups, they were super leaned into that. It kind of varies. Every now and then there's one of these viral moments that people are like, we'll pass on this, let's let it run its course. But you mentioned vanilla ice cream and olive oil with Raza. We worked with them to do some content around that and kind of promoted and raise the visibility of that within the app. We also, our merchandising team, we take a lot of pride in our latest and greatest section, where we highlight a lot of these different things. Because the GoPuff consumer, they're really interesting. They come in typically with one thing in mind, but then they browse. Every other retailer you're going to talk to, they'll tell you about 75% of their add to carts happen from search. We're the complete inverse of that. 75% of our add to carts happen from the browse. And it's because people kind of think about impulse, necessity, need. There's that one or two things, but then they go and they build their basket with what else catches their eye. So we always want to have those trending activations, moments, bundles available.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys have to duke it out.
Sorry. Really good conversation. You talked about impulse and the necessity, the need. What is the biggest impulse kind of item? Like, I don't see an AT&T phone on there, right? Because for the last mile, what is the largest, like that level?
So look, we built our business early on snacks, drinks, ice cream, alcohol.
Okay.
Those were kind of our big four. Alcohol has been massive for us. It's a competitive moat for two reasons. One, it's incredibly complex. We are the largest private owner of liquor license in the U.S. right now. If anybody's a West Coast person, BevMo, we own BevMo. We acquired them about 2 years ago. Have integrated them into the GoPuff ecosystem. Liquor Bar in Kentucky, we acquired a bunch of other kind of regional, smaller liquor players. So alcohol is definitely a big driver for us. But then also, there's a lot of consumers who just don't believe you can get something delivered and have it still be frozen. From a unit perspective, Ben & Jerry's is one of our top selling brands. We move millions of pints of Ben & Jerry's on their behalf. And it's because it is one of those impulse things. I think we've all had those moments where it's been a tough day and you just really want a pint of ice cream. And it's calling your name. And if it's not in your freezer, you're willing to pay a small premium. But with what's interesting with GoPuff, because of our role as a retailer, we do not have the service charges of the other last mile companies. So again, I use all these other companies, but like sometimes I'm craving Chipotle, and I order it on Uber Eats, and I end up paying $32 for a burrito because the fees just stack and stack and stack because everybody has to get their cut. Uber Eats isn't making their money on the margin of a product. GoPuff, that's how we make our margin. I am a retailer. I'm buying directly from all these large suppliers, just like any other retailer. I'm marking it up. I'm making my margin. I have other, revenue drivers as well, but I don't need to charge service fees on top. So we are able to kind of keep our prices down. And then we haven't even chat about how we're doing FAM's our loyalty program. Look, I'm biased, but Organic Valley eggs, we sell them for $2 for a dozen for our FAM members. I dare you to find a better price out there. We're actually saying we're cheaper than Walmart, much to my legal chagrin. They don't love that, but since we actually are, we're doing that. And so when we look at differentiators out of the market, we do see things like that are those consumer staples. We almost want them to purchase them almost as an impulse because it's too good of a deal not to. So if they come in for ice cream, but then they see $2 eggs, they add that to their cart, and now we're starting to change consumer behavior a little bit.
I don't know anywhere where you can get $2 eggs.
Organic.
And you just said organic. I know. That's why I'm like, what? I mean,
Organic
I think I'm at like $12.99.
Yeah. They're a loss leader for us. We admit it, but it drives people into the brand.
Time for one more, Vito?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Jason from Brand Innovators.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. This is a great conversation. Thanks for the enthusiasm. It's been awesome to see your company grow. I don't know if this is relevant at all, but just curious if on any of your owned and operated platforms, you guys are doing brand partnerships with non-endemic products, brands, services that are not, in need right away. That thinking streaming companies, I'm thinking entertainment companies and all that.
We were just talking about this.
We have done a lot, and it is so ripe for us to do more. And to also answer your question, we're an Apple authorized reseller, so the amount of Apple products we move are a ton because people travel. And Laura and I were talking about this. Half of our users, 52% of them, order to multiple addresses. So they order to their office, they order to their hotel, they order to their home. Because we've all had those moments where we get to the hotel and we forgot a toothbrush, we forgot deodorant. I forgot socks. I had to go buy some at Johnson & Murphy in the airport.
All the time. Our CEO is notorious for leaving his charger, his computer charger. I think I've been on 5 trips with him where he has to go buy another computer charger.
But Jason, I have an audience of 18 to 34-year-olds. The peak shopping times on GoPuff are 8 to 10 p.m., Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, and nobody GoPuffs and goes. When you order GoPuff, you're indicating that you're staying in for the foreseeable future. So we're actually one of the last surfaces that a brand can engage with a consumer before they make their decision of which content they're going to stream, what game they're going to play, or anything like that. So we've done a wide variety of partnerships with Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, NBC, actually integrating them throughout the GoPuff shop experience, but then also doing various surprise and delight things within the delivery bag. You'll love this as a parent of young kids. We did something for Netflix IP called Princess Power. I don't know if your kids ever watched that, where we created custom sticker sheets and coloring books that people who are pre-identified as parents based upon their past purchase history, so people who have purchased diapers of a certain size, baby food, various products. This whole show, Savannah Guthrie was the EP on it. All the 4 princesses were tied to different fruits and had that, goodwill of getting kids to eat more fruit. Anytime an identified parent ordered fruit, they got a free coloring book or sticker sheet in their GoPuff delivery bag for their children, promoting that IP. So very unique ways. I was the coolest. I have 2 daughters, so I was the coolest dad for a week. And then it quickly went away. Some other shiny object got there.
The delivery came there. They're always like, "No, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, they're like, "Where's the sticker sheet?
Where's my present?"
But yeah, no, we're very bullish on the non-endemic space because when we boil down to who our audience is, this is when brand preferences get determined. We all went through this in our lives. During our 20s, we decided, am I a Capital One or a Chase guy? Do I fly Delta or United? Do I order, Coke or Pepsi? All these brand preferences get formed in our 20s, and that's who our shopper is. And so while we can move CPG products for the best of them, but to your question, we're open to selling anything. I had a call with Fanatics, and we want to get Super Bowl merchandise in the 2 cities at our MFCs and in all of our New Orleans MFCs that's hosting the Super Bowl. So that
Genius.
for everybody who wants to show off their team pride when they win. So you will actually, we're not there yet, but we want to get those products on our shelves just for the week leading up to the Super Bowl and the next day. So when the 49ers win, come on, although that was an ugly game yesterday, everybody in the Bay Area can get that product delivered, their Super Bowl t-shirt, in 30 minutes post the whistle blowing.
Awesome.
We'll be here all night.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I can keep talking.
Thank you so much for an engagement.
Thank you.